Pat Toomey, you just said to run for office of the president. As it is King Leslie King, the 38th president of the United States under Watergate, view of Nixon. That means that the Duke of Essex gets the right to rule the Democratic Republic of Barbados, the Democratic Republic of Puerto Rico, and the Democratic Republic of the Dominican Republic. Now, by order of charter, in view of that, I am not supposed to understand the riot, and when that's asked by Elsie compared to Bradley, and Bradley, remember, in view of the riots, talking to him the week before how he sees accessory. But I'm not supposed to comprehend that view to the rest of the board of who was there at 9/11 in view of what finishes.
Portfolio limits or concentration limits, end quote, on banks' loans to energy companies.
Now, this wouldn't be understood to HydroCorp. This wouldn't be understood asking UN Order 2826 and the view of an electrical fence with the country or the state of Tijuana after NAFTA. This wouldn't be Puerto Rico and one electrical design as renewable water and electricity. This would not be Cuba in that country during its NAFTA policy. This wouldn't be the wonderment in the Hatch-Brown Act. This isn't 50 USC 29.0136. Under CFR 7.8 in view of flooding model. The flooding is the electric. The flooding is renewable water to all third world countries. The flooding has the Preston Pen is look at those banners and spirits coming across. When they're just like the Chief Justices, as the Preston Pence is referred to them.
This is a bad idea on many levels. One of which is,
but we only have that in congressional testimony.
That try to allocate capital in economies.
Whose butter?
And that's the reasons why our economy has outperformed the rest of the world. We tend not to do that. Many of
that's wow for me.
Do that.
I would like Kevin to run for the 47th first, and ask Mike Van Horn on the American independence, and say Ford Carter reimagined to this, and ask me what would be Secretary of FEMA during what I believe to be the act of World War III before 38 to 45.
In fossil fuels was absolutely terrific.
And that's being honest in the view of the Senate.
Over the last 12 months, it's up 21%.
And I believe in the next 2 years we will have an active draft domestically. And in view of volunteer firefighters under the Hatch-Brown Act, in view of the right to militia under freedom of speech and due process, I believe I have a right in Michigan via the EPA, New York pistol and rifle, Trump v. Vance, Trump v. Hawaii, and Trump v. the Water Resource, and Belvins v. the U.S., and 2 Jane Doe v. the U.S., under Weiss v. the U.S. and Stevenson's v. the U.S., to challenge this in a court of law under Colorado River Basin. That was Rubio. Excuse me. And I would like that this be understood in the view of the state and in view of the model to how the CARES Act is wondered. Pat Toomey, I'm going to talk to you like a real SOB now. I would like to know, in the view of understanding Manchin, why we cannot, on Social Security or government applications, be asked if we have a 401k as an intake question to the Department of Health and Human Services. I want to know why, instead of do you have one, where it's wondered inverse. I would like you to directly do one. I would like that to be wondered after your second time that you get your government assistance. I would like that to be a question when you apply for Social Security that is asked before you are awarded it. I would like that be a question that is actually sent in the mail by the banking industry under the Graham-Leach-Bailey Act in view of the CUNA Act. I would like that be a question in 5031B plans of high schools and where more appropriate views are wondered are associate degrees under a plan model in view of NIL studies, in view of college, the view of academics. Where I have my bigger issue is upon bachelor's, master's, and postdoctoral. I believe that every graduating class of a major university technically should be in a 5031B plan upon graduation. And if I'm a billionaire or a multi-millionaire and I want to pay my graduation class's debt, that I can do that.
And I don't know how you do a scenario.
Especially when that is wondering being inducted to the University Hall of Fame or sitting on the Board of Trustees. And I believe that this needs to be addressed as underwriting in the Banking and Housing Act in view of urban affairs.
Her role as a director of the Chicago Fed as one of the main qualifications for
Charles Evans.
elevation to Fed Board of Governors.
The man I'd like to see myself like, and James Bullard.
2 weeks before she was nominated.
Where this is wondered as Deputy Female Undersecretary and the view of promotion under the census compared to where I would like a promotional review and the view if I can't run for FEMA's director and the re-election or the next election if Kevin is to run. And if Chris Christie runs his half-brother with any senator, including what could be compared to the ones of endorsement, I wonder that in the next 6 years as promotion. And I wish to ask the state of California, where that is wondered to the San Francisco Federal Reserve as an appropriate model as that in compliance. And it's my biggest issue with understanding the city and the county of Napa and the state of California. Mr. Toomey, 421-03938 in view.
Accelerate the pace at which we withdraw.
And say in urban affairs that is dealing with even the risk.
I don't know.
And say those type of things.
The fact is, inflation is way
Mr. Toomey, show that as plastic and aluminum in view of nurseries under pot. And show that as a husbandary wonderment at every state in view of trash. And say 10 cents and ask that to our national debt. And say then where the court system is wondered to hours of community service to how pay is seen. And say you're mimicking a VVIX, RVX to VIXY model in view of our national debt. And see that upon the same way food is wondered, or food stamps, after the second time as the admissions intake officer. And say that we don't understand that to student loans, we don't understand that to the Commerce Clause, and we don't understand that and model assessment. And where $850 to $1,200 is wondered, show that as that wonderment if you can afford $10 to $20 on Social Security. And when that's wondered instead of the Banking Act, how CUNA's wondered to credit lines, $50 when you charge $50 as a banking question for an overdraft, why can't I do that in weekly and CDs models anymore? And say that under and putting it into my 401k. At a credit union, even if I'm on government assistance. That's like saying no pack of cigarettes. I'm not eating out every day. I'm bringing my own coffee and my own meal.
Think about what's the danger here.
And may Dad, that I'd like him, the 2-star general and Mike Van Horn, to run for office of the president of the American Independence Party. Carter Ford reimagined.
In a partisan direction and ratifying the idea that the Fed ought to engage in what.
And I would like this to be considered in the Hatch-Brown Act as accountability under Voices of the Wetland via the Water Resource Board in view of the Hatch Act. And in the view of who you're addressing, Mr. Toomey, I invoke Mr. Durbin's cause to Puerto Rico.
And this is